Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
Yeah, you're very welcome along to this week's Friday Night Racing. It's the last Friday Night Racing of November, and we've got a great one lined up for you. We are going to be talking about the weekend's racing, some very famous horses in action in the National Hunt Racing this weekend. We'll preview all of that for you in a couple of minutes' time. Johnny is here looking to end the coldest of cold streaks. How are you, Johnny? It's a millstone around your neck at this point.
Another second last weekend.
Second. Hit the post.
Hitting the post, yeah. Hopefully we'll score this weekend, and cracking racing. We've plenty of options.
We do almost too many, you could say.
Plenty of options.
All right, let's move on, because our special guest this week, I'm delighted to welcome back to the show for the second time. We're joined by Donnacha O'Brien. Donnacha, last time you were here, you told us a little bit of information that we've used again and again and again in pretty much every interview we've done since. It was the fact that you had 2 jellies and Red Bull in the previous 24 hours. I presume you are eating like a king, like a lord, since you have retired.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've already had about 3 McDonald's this week, so I'm happy and fat.
That's not a good idea, by the way.
It's a perfectly good idea. Go for it.
Yeah, just don't make a habit of it.
Embrace your inner fat man for a few weeks at least.
Absolutely.
Congratulations on an amazing riding career. Obviously, the start of your training career is nearly upon us. But in all seriousness, like, we kind of are joking about the food, but was that ultimately the thing? Was it the diet and trying to make the weight? Was that the thing that kind of was the final decision in that this year was going to be your last year?
Not really. Look, I was never going to ride for forever. So it was just a matter of time before I called it. It was never going to be a good time to retire when you have a job like I did. There was always going to be good horses to look forward to and good races. So it was more kind of I have something else coming up, and I think it was just time to move to that chapter.
Had you made the decision that this was going to be your last year a long way out? Had you made peace with it, or did it kind of come in the last couple of months going, right, that's
No,
it?
I've known for a good while, probably over a year. That probably would be my last year. So
you didn't tell me that in that interview we did about 3 weeks ago.
No, I didn't tell anyone. But I just wanted to keep it quiet and do it as low profile as possible.
Was that just to give yourself an out in case you changed your mind, you wanted to go another year? Was it that it's actually better to?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to tie myself down to anything. And even now, I said when I put out the thing on Twitter, I wanted to leave it as open as possible. I didn't rule out riding again. But as the media do, they locked on and there was headlines: O'Brien quit saddle straight away. So that's the way it is.
So that's our exclusive.
The media
You're
are
coming back next year. Well, we are.
Yeah. But see, what Donnacha did was quite interesting. He put out the tweet at a time when it was very, very hard for the papers to get it. I think it was a Sunday evening, Donnacha, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wanted to keep it low profile, and I just I wanted to put it out now so that I wouldn't have to deal with it come March. Is why I done it now, and things like that. And as I said, I didn't say I was, I kind of just said I was going to concentrate on training, and that's what I would like to become more than anything. But it is what it is.
So you haven't actually quit?
Well, I'm going to renew my license. I got the forms in there last week, so it'll be renewed. And I don't know if I'll ride again. It's very possible that I won't. But I just look, if come March or May and my weight's not too bad, and I could have a good ride in a classic, it might be hard to say no.
This can only mean one thing, Donnacha. You're going to ride in the Cheltenham bumper.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's
it's written in the stars.
Yeah, I don't know, but look, I'll see. Look, as I said, it's very possible I won't ride again, and probably likely, but it's not impossible that I will.
Do you remember your first ride in a proper race that was like, okay, I'm now a jockey?
Yeah, I rode for James Nash. Actually, was my first ride. It wasn't for Dad or Joseph, for anyone. It was an apprentice race in Naas, and I think I was out the back the whole way. But it was. I remember being a very surreal experience. Being in my first race, having watched racing for so long before that.
And so, what was surreal about it?
Well, it's kind of you play it up so much in your mind what it's going to be like. I probably rode the race millions of times before I actually ever did, and so it was kind of a bit okay, this is really happening. And was it different to how in your head the million times you've done it when you actually get out there? Yeah, it's race riding so different from how it looks on telly. It's I always say they should have jockey cams in in a lot of races, especially the bigger races. It is what it is. They're much cleaner. Everyone knows what they're doing. You put jockey cams on in maidens and handicaps around bad tracks, and you'll see a bit of fun. You'll see what race riding's really like.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to get used to that?
A long time. I got a bad fall on my third ride around Wexford, and that really dented my confidence for a good while. For someone that hadn't been in so many races, I got a right slap, and it took me a while to get over that. I think mentally more than anything.
And how do you actually get over that? Because I'm always interested. Like, it's a long process. Physically, your body comes back and you're like, okay, grand, I'm fine to go. But actually, as you're saying, that the mental side of it, what do you do to get over that? There's
not much you can do. I just, ride, and that's probably why I was lucky to be in the position I was. That Dad kept putting me up on horses, and in a way, I didn't really have a choice but to get over, because I was just going to be riding in races the whole time. What happened was I clipped the heel and went down. You don't realise how hard that ground hits you until it really does. And for probably a few months after that, I didn't want to be anywhere near heels in any race.
Yeah, that's interesting, Donnacha, because if you don't jumpers expect to fall, jump jockeys obviously expect to fall, and whilst it's not nice, the ground is normally softer. But we've seen jockeys die. Obviously, when you have a fall on the flat, it can be absolutely catastrophic because you're not expecting it. It must be like being thrown out of a car almost blindfolded. Like, what's the actual experience like?
It's I can't say for jump jockeys because I've never ridden in one, but I suppose when you're jumping, you're kind of coming to a fence, and in a way your momentum going forward is slowing down when you're going over the fence, and when you're coming down, you're kind of coming down anyway, whether you want to land on a horse or the ground. I know on the flat, when you clip a heel, you've hit the ground before you know what's happening. It happens so quick, and it's it hits you hard. You don't know what happened. You're before you know it, you're sitting on the ground. Everywhere hurts, and if you hit your head, you're probably going to be confused as well. But people don't realise how hard that ground hits you when it comes at you.
After that, you said it was a couple of months. You didn't want to be behind anybody's heels. Do you feel like you actually lost some races that you might have won in the comeback?
I don't know. This is a long time ago. I can't even remember what I was riding. But I think it was a valuable lesson learned, because I see some apprentices nowadays and they're quite happy because when you clip heels in a lot of races, you actually can hear a horse clipping the heel in front of you, but it's only when the horse's foot is going forward and it meets a horse's hind heel coming back that it causes the horse to fall. So some apprentices could sit on heels for a lot of races and get away with it. And when I see it happening, I always cringe because they don't realise the danger, and I suppose sometimes it just takes a fall to make people cop on.
Yeah, so obviously you become a better jockey as a result of it. So that was the kind of the bones of my question. How quickly do you get your confidence back then, and when do you start feeling like, yeah, I am where I'm supposed to be now?
Yeah, obviously, I look, as I said, this is a while ago. I can't remember exactly, but I presume it would have taken a few rides and a few winners and a few things like that to get your confidence back. But I take my hat off to the jumps guys that can get hopped off the ground, day after day and still keep back and doing it.
It sounds like it's a fairly addictive thing. That kind of being on good horses and winning obviously helps, but that adrenaline surge that jockeys get, that whole experience of when the race starts and then in the middle of the race when you realise that you're starting to quicken your horse and everything else isn't actually quickening at the same pace as you, and you know that the victory's coming. That's the type of feeling that I imagine makes you go, I'm just going to fill in these forms here now on the off chance that next season I miss that a bit too much.
Yeah, it's I suppose when at the start of your career, it's adrenaline. By the time once the last few years, it's just like doing your day job. You're used to it. It's nearly instinct. You're not thinking about what you're doing in a race. Your body's so used to being in different situations and riding your horse differently. But as you said, it's what I always loved was riding a horse that's far superior to everything else in the race, whether that's a 100 rated horse in a maiden or a 120 rated horse in a group race or something like that. It's always it's a lovely feeling sitting on a horse and you have 2 or 3 more gears and everything else around you.
What horse gave you the best feel in your career?
Saxon Warrior, I think, was an absolute machine. I don't think we saw the best of him. I think on his homework was absolutely spectacular. I think after the Guineas, he never showed anything, but I'm not sure he was at his best. He after that he always seemed to hang left in his races, and he eventually got an injury, So maybe that was creeping up on him for a while. But I know on his homework, he was an absolute airplane.
I know Richie Forrestal did a lovely piece in the Racing Post this week about you, and in particular that ride was the ride that he picked out. Was that the best buzz you ever got in a race because of the way I suppose it panned out, which may or may not have been the plan as well, and you're riding in a classic at Newmarket?
Yeah, I'm sure it was up there. It was probably one of my first high pressure rides, in that I was first string for Ballydoyle in a classic on a stallion prospect. You know, it doesn't get much more pressure than that really, and you know, things didn't go exactly how I'd planned them. If you look back in the race, it looks like it all went well, but it's strange when you play it up in your mind how you think it's going to go, and he just broke a little bit slow, and suddenly your plan is gone. Everything's different, but yeah, he was, you know, he'd have won no matter what. I don't want him that day, I suppose.
You mentioned there, obviously, like this is the difference in it could be a few million euro. Effectively, it could be a lot of money, because if he disappoints in the Guineas, his stallion kind of credentials have nosedived a bit. But what was your thought in the first 5 seconds of that race when you're talking about that pressure and you knew, okay, like I've kind of two options here. I sit and hope things work out and trust the horse, or I could maybe panic a little bit and like force the issue a bit. Was there any kind of, you know, I suppose, was there any decisions going on in your head at that time?
Yeah, well, the first thing you look at is the pace of the race. You know, how quick are they going? So I was lucky in that situation that there was plenty of pace on. I was able to just keep sitting on them. When the pace is strong, they tend to collapse in front of you, and you can wait a lot longer. If they had gone slow in that race, they'd have bunched, and I'd have been back further. I'd have more ground to make up with a quicker finish, and it would have been more difficult. I'd have probably had to make something more drastic. But the way it panned out, they were spread across the track. The pace was strong, so I could just keep sitting.
What are you saying to yourself? Like, how is that conversation?
There's no conversation. It's everything happens so quick when you're riding a horse. You're not. It's strange. It's kind of, your body's kind of doing one thing and your mind's doing another. You're not really thinking about what you're doing. Kind of, it just happens, and your thoughts might have nothing to do with what's going on around the race. And it's a strange kind of a feeling, but it's hard to describe when you've never done it. You know, it's
being in the zone essentially. That's that.
Yeah, exactly. I presume that's what it is. I think probably all sports people feel it, where it's, you know. It's probably similar enough to what, well, I don't know, maybe Formula One drivers or something like that experience. But yeah, it's kind of strange, but you get used to it.
Do you get it every race?
Yeah, yeah. It depends on the race. You know, like there's some races that might be a long distance. You could be going slow. You could be having a conversation with someone beside you. It's like you're sitting you may as well be sitting in a car speaking to someone, and then you could be in a 5 furlong sprint where it's like literally just no thoughts going on. It's just, you know, everything's happening so quick you don't have time to even look.
I think you spoke about jockey cams and that. I saw the day the Pat Smullen the cancer trials day at Curragh. Obviously in Pat's actual race they did trial those cameras, and they're pretty much 360 degrees. So like if you have like all the screens in front of you, you can kind of like it's absolutely amazing.
Like VR basically.
Yeah, there is a danger with it because they're kind of on top of the helmet. So basically, if you fell like right down on them, I think that's one of the big issues with them. But is there a way to describe that feeling, Donnacha? Just because you're riding something at the guts of 40 miles an hour, fast summer ground, the sun is at your back, and also that, you know, that impossibility. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, and if I win this, basically, I'm all over the papers tomorrow. My father's a very happy man. The Coolmore are very happy, and I've just won a classic. Like I don't know. It must be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, you just push it out of your head, all that kind of stuff. You can't think about that. If you think about that, you'll melt your own head. You know what you were saying about you going 40 miles an hour. It always kind of, well, sometimes annoys me when people go on about, oh, you know, people misjudge pace and they think, oh, what he's doing, he's idiot. You know, you drive along in a car and you put a sticker over your speedometer and you stick your head out the window, you tell me whether you're going 40 kilometres an hour or 45 kilometres an hour, and you do that on the back of an animal with maybe wind in your face, slower ground, and some are different movers than others. It's not easy, you know.
Well, I'm really interested.
Hang on, we should get every internet troll who's ever done that and kidnap them, extraordinary rendition, and put them in a car and go, hey, what is it now? Tell me now. And that would be great.
I'm really interested.
Every jockey in Ireland standing with them.
Yeah, well, see, so a friend of mine, Declan Maher, he did a kind of a pace angle study on jockeys in terms of where the jockeys should be in races in a statistical data-based piece. So, like, if the pace were slow, the jockeys should be up with the pace. So it's kind of intuitive, and it's also... But Donnacha, you did seem to pretty much nail that. Now, was that something that you felt yourself, I'm very good at this, or was it something that you were like, I'm still improving at this as I get older? Was it your best asset as a jockey?
Yeah, no, I thought I was quite good at it. The pace is probably the most important thing in a race. Every horse I rode, I rode 95% of them the same. I broke forward out of the gates and was happy to be in the first three. If no one else was going, I was always happy to go to the front and dictate my own fractions. If there was one or two going, I'd be very happy to sit second or third. And if there was a lot of pace on, I'd just keep sitting and allow them to go in front of me and go back. So, 95% of the time I had the same plan in the race and made up my mind in the first two furlongs of where I wanted to sit.
Who are the best of your peers, would you say, in regard to pace judgment?
Look, I won't go into that because there's a lot of good riders in Ireland. I don't want to single people out, There's, technically, if you're on a horse that's after being a bit slow away, the worst thing you can happen to you is that there's a clever rider up front, because he's basically going to rule out the race for the second half of the pack. Unless you're on something that's a different class. But if you're out the back, you want someone that maybe doesn't have a lot of experience or isn't a great judge of pace to go too quick in front.
This is ridiculous. 21 years of age and shown remarkable diplomatic savvy already.
Well, who
alarming.
knows? Some of them might be riding his horses in a couple of weeks'
Well,
time.
there's no might about it.
Yeah, exactly. Come here, what are you going to miss?
I'll miss the big days and the big horses. No doubt about that. Whether it's Derby Day or the Arc and things like that, you'll miss that. But as I said, I was always going to miss that no matter when I call the day. And it's in this game, I think it's much better to retire too early than too late. So I made the decision, and look, I'll have to live with it now.
And what are you not going to miss?
Well, it's just the weights, the not eating, the sweating, going to bad tracks, doing light weights. And having to wait around all day without eating, without drinking, that's what sucks.
Yeah. You seem to be in fairly good form when you were in with us. I don't know if you were just putting that on. Were you a bad hungry, like slightly angry, tetchy most of the time, or did you get mellowed out over time?
Yeah, you get used to it. I don't know. I'm sure the people that had to deal with me will probably tell you more realistic than what I will. But look, you try to be, obviously when you're not eating on your diet and you're not going to be in as good form as any other time. But you kind of get used to it at the same time.
Yeah, I saw he did make an interesting point through the week as well, where he's like, it's hard to waste for a race, but then if you've sort of maybe a 2-hour gap to your next race, that middle ground is like a complete, almost like a twilight zone of just complete angst. I would have thought. Yeah,
that's the worst when you've maidens, 2-year-old maidens tend to be early on the cards in Ireland, and so I could be riding a 2-year-old filly in the first, say somewhere, and then if I had maybe only one or not even any rides until the last, which is often 3-year-old maidens, and say I'm riding a filly in that and I've 2 9 stones and they could be 3 hours apart, that is absolute torture.
It's remarkable, like when you think, I've said this before, that the amount of effort and money that's put into like the nutrition of sports people, and jockeys are doing everything wrong in that regard, like so many of them, because they have to.
They're obviously getting better at it, though, in fairness.
They are, but it's still, like, I know your brother has said this a lot, Donnacha, but are we coming to a stage, people are getting taller, obviously. In America, there are no American jockeys anymore. They're basically reliant on Latin American jockeys, so there are no native riders in the States anymore. Are we getting to the point where it'll become an absolute necessity that the weights will be raised? Yeah, look, it's one of those hard things, When the conversation was brought up in Ireland, a lot of the light jockeys were against it, and it's probably one of the main reasons that they didn't go up. But the way I look at it is, you look at I don't know if you have the list in front of you, but name out the last 10 champion apprentices in Ireland. Like, how many of them have weight problems? I don't have it in front of me, but I can't think of. Colin's probably the lightest one in the last while. There's very few young lads that can do the weights now, Yeah. Did you feel that you got the credit you deserved as a rider? I thought Richie's piece, he nailed that, in that there was always that kind of underlying tag of nepotism when it came to Joseph, because he was his father's son, and obviously you were asked, I think was it last year, what's your best attribute, and you said being Aidan O'Brien's son, which I know it reminds like Peter Crouch's joke, but like it was kind of tongue in cheek. But at the same time, because you were Aidan's son and you were riding good horses, did people actually recognise how good of a jockey you were?
Look, I'd rather get less credit and ride better horses than have it the other way around. You know what I mean? I think I got as much credit as I deserve, probably. That's
a beautiful photo of. I think the thing about this is as well, and I was working the day Anna had her fall in Killarney, and as much as Donnacha, it's unfortunate that he's retiring at 21. Anna could have literally lost her life that night. It was that bad, or she could have been basically paralysed for the rest of her life. And I remember the panic that ensued in racing, and trying to kind of deal with Adrian McGoldrick in the Turf Club at the time, before they changed the data regulations, where now they can't actually really tell you anything about the person. But I remember speaking to Adrian McGoldrick that night, Donnacha, about, and he was so emotional when the good news came through about Anna, and it must kind of put into context that you're getting out in perfect shape at 21 and life is good.
Yeah, that was a frightening day. As I said earlier on in this game, it's definitely better to stop a bit early than a bit late. You know, things can turn south so quick and go so bad that I think, you know, I'm very lucky to be able to walk away healthy and happy and at the top of my game. You know, so it's something that maybe a lot of people don't get to do, and I'm very lucky that way.
You've obviously done all the qualifications about becoming a trainer in the background over the last while, and taking out your training licence is obviously something you've been thinking about for a while. So you've got an idea exactly of how you are going to train horses and what your style is going to be. And can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like what will your philosophy be? Will it be in any way different? Will it be a tweak from what your brother's doing, from what your dad's doing, from what some other trainers that you've worked with are doing?
Yeah, everyone trains. You have to train to your facilities, to your gallops. You know, it's if I done the same thing as Dad does or the same thing as Joseph does, it wouldn't work. You know, training at its roots is very simple. You get them fit, you get them healthy, and you keep running them. But you have to find how you can do that with the facilities you have. And so I think a system I have going at the minute seems to be working quite well. We had decent success last year, so obviously I'm very lucky to have some unbelievable facilities. So no, it's something I'll obviously have to keep tweaking over time until I find the best way, and you know, that's what it's all about. Keep trying things until it works.
Obviously, the League of Ireland clubs that are out now, they're already back in the gym. The GA teams are back in training. So Donnacha's not doing anything at the moment, and that you had your holiday in Barbados. But what are we looking at for next year, numbers wise? What are we looking at in terms of?
Yeah, look, it won't be many. I hear people telling me that they're here and I have 100 horses and I have 100.
200, I heard.
Yeah, I actually have heard that. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I'll have about 25.
Right, and so are they mainly 2-year-olds, or are you having a bit of a mix and match?
A bit of a mix, probably mainly 2-year-olds, but I'll have some old horses as well, obviously, like sort of filly, and a few horses there that won maidens or they were placed in maidens, so a few things like that.
What sort of pedigrees are we talking?
Yeah, they're great pedigrees, because they'll be made up of horses that I bought myself at the sales. There's some homebreds of mums that I have, and then there are more horses as well. So obviously, Coolmore don't keep mares that don't have good pedigrees, so a lot of them have wonderful pedigrees. As I said, I'm very lucky to be able to look after them.
Do you have handicappers?
Everyone has handicappers, Johnny.
Well, I'm interested in this. So is Donnacha the type of jockey or the type of trainer where Paddy and Mick down the pub are like, "Jizz, like things are going well, the building game is back, blah blah blah. I wouldn't mind sending one in training. I happen to live near near Donnacha's yard. You're Gould's Cross, more or less, isn't it?"
Yeah, no, that's I only have a small number, so as I said, I'm full at the minute, so
already turning people away.
Well, yeah, but not because of that many horses or anything, just because the boxes are full with nice horses, and as I said, I'll try and concentrate more on quality than quantity, but you know, that's an easy thing to say until you try and go and do it.
Your brother's a dual-purpose trainer, and maybe I should know the answer to this already. Are you going to be a dual-purpose trainer exclusively for the flat? Is that
taking the easy way out? Apparently not.
Yeah, I think I'll try to stick to the flat, hopefully.
Who's working for you then? Who do we know?
Oh God, I don't know who you know, but there are a lot of I have a lot of lads that were actually at worked for David, and then went from David to Ballydoyle, and then when I moved back over, a lot of them came back over with me.
That's nice, yeah.
So I've Damien Corwick's my head man. He's unbelievable, and he was very good last year when I was racing a lot. And but I have a lot of good lads. You know, I couldn't name them all, obviously, but a lot of really good lads, and that's what it's all about. They're the ones that make it run, you know.
Exclusive revelation on Off the Ball, and this is exclusive. Who is Donnacha O'Brien's stable jockey?
Oh, jeez, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Come on, Donnacha.
Well, look, a lot of them are going to be Coolmore horses, so it'll be, right, Wayne, Shamey, and obviously if Ryan, if I have a horse that run and Ryan is over, he can ride them, and different things like that. But there's so look, we'll see. But a lot of them will be Coolmore horses, so we'll have the Coolmore lads riding them, and we'll take from there. There's a lot of quality riders in Ireland, so I'm sure that won't be a problem.
When you were talking about training to your facilities and you've got to use the gallops, is there something specific? Is there a characteristic to your gallops that's different from others? Obviously, there's a load of famous hills in Irish racing. Do you have one?
There's one gallop. It's a mile long on wood chip. It's probably a bit flatter than Ballydoyle. It's a lot flatter than Joseph's. So you just have to tweak things. Maybe go a little bit longer, go a little bit faster to get them as fit. But you just have to keep tweaking until it works.
Yeah, and that's the challenge. And I think that's probably the most enjoyable bit, working it out over a period of time to get a horse to that level of fitness.
Enjoyable if it's working, I suppose. It's not enjoyable if you're having to do it because it's not working.
Yeah, what in terms, like, have you picked up any sort of techniques yourself in terms of training or the general well-being of horses in terms of how you look after them at home that doesn't involve actually their gallops? Like, is there anything that you're kind of confident that is going to work out in terms of stuff you've learned along the way?
Yeah, I think I probably learned more even this year just doing it myself than a lot of years before. And obviously I would have known a lot of the stuff from working in Ballydoyle and things already, but it's you learn a lot even nearly doing it yourself and trial and error kind of. You nearly learn as much.
When's your first official runner going to be?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have the license yet. I think I probably won't have it till January. I have two handicappers there for Dundalk. I might give them a run before the season starts.
Who are they, Donnacha?
Mythologic is one of them. Australia horse. He had a few good runs in maidens. He's right around, I think, high 70s. He's a solid little horse. And Flower Garland is the other one that's on the go. So she was second in nursery in Leopardstown last time out there too. Solid grand horses.
Obviously, the Coolmore lads have so much money that they certainly don't need to have a bet ever again in their lives. So what's your horse to look out for long suffering? That squeeze middle class of people and the working class people of this country who could do with a few bob. Pressure's on you, Donnacha.
I can't give you a surefire winner, but obviously Fancy Blue is the one, probably she was kind of the stable star, I suppose. Last year she probably achieved the most, so she's the one to look forward to next year, I suppose.
There's a terrible cliched question about what would your death row meal be. I wanted to know what your
McDonald's
first meal as a free man was after you were like, right, that's it, I'm off now, I don't need to keep any weight. Did you go somewhere special? It was
the jockeys had a thing in Dublin the day after the flat, or the day of the flat finishing that evening. So it was whatever I ate that day. I can't remember what it was exactly, to be honest.
Right. Well, listen. Enjoy the.
I have one last question for him. Yeah. When we spoke in Barbados, he was like, "I'm happily single" and all this. So when you were chatting up women in Barbados, did you tell them you were a jockey or a trainer?
I think I don't know. Which do you think is better?
I'd say, to be honest, yeah, I just won classics this year, but yeah, I have enough of it. I'm going training. 21, like getting on.
Okay, yeah, I'll try that, Johnny. I'll give it a go.
Best of luck.
Sorry, hang on a second. I don't give advice. I think it's a bad idea, but I would give this advice. Don't take relationship advice from Johnny. That's a...
Okay. I'm not even going to ask what you mean by that, but okay.
Lovely to talk to you, Donnacha.
Good man, Donnacha. Thanks a million. Best of luck.
Thanks very much, lads. Thank you.
That's Donnacha O'Brien. We wish him the best of luck in his career.
What
training.
A class act.
Yeah.
Fancy Blue as well is by Deep Impact. Who was the stallion of Saxon Warrior, who was probably his favourite horse.
Right.
So
it comes full circle.
So the dam, Chenchikova by Sadler as well, is I'm pretty sure Aidan trained the dam and was a proper good horse. But that filly is very interesting. Fancy Blue, on pedigree, could definitely be an Oaks horse, and she's obviously won both her starts, and I know he likes her a lot, but it just could be fascinating, because I know Paddy Power were betting on, like, would he win a classic in his first year, would he have a Royal Ascot winner and all this, and it'll be interesting because I think he's going to do okay. A small yard with really good top quality horses is the right thing to do, right? Yeah, like
if you can do it.
Well, it's kind of mad because the numbers he's talking about, and I could be wrong on this, but I'd say Joseph has 10 times the horses he has. Joseph has must be the biggest dual-purpose yard in the world, I would have thought. And he shows no signs of stopping. He very nearly had. There are the two of them with Iridessa, who was his first, Joseph's first Group 1 winner. Joseph nearly won a race in 3 continents when he nearly won the Melbourne Cup. And Donnacha was talking afterwards about you really have to understand how hard this guy works. So Donnacha has 1/10 of the horses Joseph has. So I imagine his plan is to take it slowly, but like this guy is probably very ambitious as well. Now he won't have jumps horses, so that'll make it a lot easier. But I know you'll get people saying, Aidan O'Brien beating Joseph O'Brien, and now Donnacha has come along, but they're 3 very different people, and it's like, I'll always make this point, the world is a very unfair place. There's no such thing as equality by and large, but Aidan O'Brien did not come from wealth. Aidan O'Brien came from a rural family. He's been teetotal all his life. He's dedicated himself to his profession. Nothing taken or given from that. He's given everything to racing. And what he achieved was through hard work and his own genius. What his sons inherited from that is because of Aidan's achievements. And what Aidan and Donnacha do now is going to be compelling because they're quite different characters to their father and to themselves.
Yeah, all right. Welcome to Friday Night. Sorry, this is Friday Night Racing Off the Ball, I should say, brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie or follow the new Twitter account at HRI Racing, and the hashtag is every racing moment. We should talk about what's going on this weekend. Loads of good Irish horses, great Irish racing. This weekend's top class action from Fairyhouse as they host their winter festival. We're going to get to see the likes of Sam Crow, Envoy Allen, and Apple's Jade, to name a few.
Yeah, if you're listening on the radio, we air at 8 o'clock. Hopefully by this time, Turf Range will have won the 7:15 at Dundalk, which is worth a really good bet, I think, tonight for the Broad team. If you are listening after 8 o'clock and that horse is being beaten, you can say, well, thank God for that. But after all that, we have Fairyhouse. We've carefully selected making his chase debut for Willie Mullins, who's in great form on Saturday, and we have an absolute crackerjack on Sunday with 3 Grade 1s, a Grade 3, and some proper handicaps.
Yeah, okay. The Tote Irish Injured Jockeys Fund that we're building up here week on week.
Stubbornly nonsense now.
Over a year.
The figure is at a certain figure, and just that's it.
Continues to remain stagnant.
Continues to remain stagnant. 3 words. 2.
4.
3 words.
4.
Okay. Continues to remain stagnant.
That might be an issue there.
Continues to remain stubbornly stagnant at
€7,549 after Encore Louis became the 12th losing Johnny Ward selection in a row. Christmas is the time of miracles, so we live in hope.
Again, I was away one of those weeks, so
11 out of 12.
Yeah.
Can we get Jennings back in? Maybe just he could
in some form.
He could talk to us and just
take relationship advice of him. He got married New Year's Day.
Maybe there you go.
It's been unbelievable since.
A reminder: Tote customers can ring in the new year at Punchestown with free tickets to the Tote sponsored day on the 31st of December. You can claim your tickets at thetote.com. What do you have for us, Johnny?
Well, I'm going to go. My nap is going to be on the Saturday card. I'll let you know what I like, and there are 3 sort of hot enough favourites on Sunday. Now you could take them on for various reasons. Price, I suppose, is the main one. But my nap on Saturday is trained by the informed Gavin Cromwell. What was that joke about? I thought their name was Partick Thistle Nil, because it was always, well, informed Gavin Cromwell is like, it's just it seems never ending at this stage. But Jukebox Jive, ridden by Jonathan Moore in the 2:45 tomorrow, can be another winner for the yard, who literally had a winner about half an hour ago. Looks very well handicapped to me. Slight worry about his lack of experience, but Gavin can do no wrong. I don't think it's a great race for the money either.
Jukebox Jive, is it a short price?
5 to 1 maybe, 4-5 to 1 hopefully.
All right, that's not too bad.
Fine.
And this is on the nose again?
It's on the nose, yeah.
Right.
Go hard or go home at this stage.
Yeah, well, went home about 5 weeks ago, it turns out. Come here, you were hanging out in Jiggestown earlier in the week, were you?
I was in Gordon Elliott's.
Yeah. Gordon Elliott's.
It was a lovely
the
day.
picture, who's taking the photograph? And did you get your eyes blued up afterwards? Did you?
Oh, God.
What filter is on it?
No, it's a feature. It's a feature of the Samsung S9 where I like the deep option. I was telling your off-the-ball colleagues last night, we were prepared for a quiet drink. We discussed our general lives in the long haul.
Nice
as many people have done for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I showed them the feature on this phone. It's not an Instagram thing or anything. It's just on the Samsung S9, which is a great phone for your for photos. I just press deep, and Samsung looks Samcro looks very well in the photo.
Samcro looks great, but what's
kind of a chiseled look, isn't it?
Well, so it fixes your face, does it? It like reduces stuff, and it does blue up your eyes. And
yeah, I do have nice blue eyes, to be fair, but I'm certainly not as tanned as I look in that photo because, there hasn't been any sunshine in Ireland.
JP says like a Ralph Lauren shoot.
I'll go with that. It's the beauty of this photo is Samcro, like to all the world, looks like he's loving this. He's really wallowing in the beauty of. Yeah. That is not the case whatsoever.
Samcro's headbutting you, basically.
Turned up to the yard and I was like, Samcro, you're one of my favourite horses. What's the story? And he's like, I think he was like drinking water in the corner of his stable. Samcro is this stable where he actually has a back garden, so he can go out into the open if he wants, and he has a little paddock out the back, kind of like a free-range chicken that
it's like a suite.
A suite, right? So like it's like, whoa, Samcro's the dude. Also, he didn't have a good season, so let's try something different. So they're giving him a lot of fresh air. Anyway, I rock up to the stable. Everyone's, myself and Michael Verney, they're like, where's Samcro? We want to see Samcro. And they're like, oh, he's there. And eventually Jack Kennedy, who we hadn't the guest obviously on the show recently, he's like, oh yeah, he's over there, blah, blah, blah. So he shows us Samcro. Samcro had no interest in the photos whatsoever. So the girl who was working in the yard is like, just take a piece of hay and like a big clump of hay, put it in your hand, and he'll likely eat out of that. So that's exactly what happened. So I was there like holding the hay in my hands, which you can't see in the photo. I mean, why would I cut off his nose to spite it? Cut off his nose, right? So Samcro's actually trying to eat hay in my hands then. It's a complete lie. It's fake news, basically.
Yeah, it's a beautiful photograph, though. Well done.
It's heavily filtered.
Michael Verney took it, did he?
Michael Verney. The boy Verney, I know he's a bit of a star in the hurling show here, but his photography was amazing. Like he took about 30 snaps and one of them had to be good. So you think.
Right, and that one.
But he's an absolute stunner. He's so beautiful, like
Michael Verney.
Yeah, Samcro. He's a stunning looking horse, and I hope he wins on Sunday. I really do. I think it's going to be exciting. Yeah.
What type of season do you think Samcro is going to have?
It all depends on Sunday to me, because it's a bit of a go hard or go home for Samcro as well. Last season was an absolute shambles for him. He went 4 races without victory. He fell in the end of his novice campaign. Last season he was disappointing in the fighting fifths behind Bouvardere when he was sent off favourite. I was kind of prepared to forgive him that, but afterwards it just went badly awry, and to me he looked like there was something ailing him. And I know they've done little things with him. He's wearing a tongue tie now for the second time. He's wearing cheek pieces actually as well on Sunday, but he jumps very well. And this is a decent test because Ronald Pump won very well in his maiden. Fakir Dudari's, Joseph O'Brien's horse, is getting 8 pounds off him. So it's a proper test. Tintangle is no mug as well, and Samcro has no excuses here, but I think if the real Samcro turns up, I think he's the best horse in the race.
Okay, so this is Fairyhouse at 1:30.
1:30, the novice chase. One of 3 really, really good grade ones.
What are the other ones, sorry? Yeah,
so Envoy Allen then runs in the... So Samcro was beside Malone Road in his paddock. Malone Road is also owned by Cheveley Park, like Envoy Allen, and he's out for the season. But this guy's kind of like possibly going to replace him in the 2-mile division. I think he's banker material. I can't see him being beaten in the 1 o'clock. He's around 4 to 5 of that.
Envoy Allen.
Absolute machine.
And who's he up against?
He's up against Savia Pimpernel, who's a good 4-year-old. Abacadabra's his stablemate. Darver Star, trained by Gavin Cromwell. Unbelievable improvement this year. Midnight Run, Joseph's horse. The rest of them sort of 140 rated. I'd be hoping Envoy Allen is better than that.
Okay, Envoy Allen's unbeaten, is that right?
Yeah, he's unbeaten. He won the champion bumper last year. Extraordinary performance, really. And the sky's the limit with him. I'm just not sure what trip he's going to want. Gordon says, like, yeah, he'll definitely go further. But I did ask him, could he take on the senior horses because the 2-mile division's not that strong. And he said, never say never, so you wouldn't know.
Right. Anything else that you need to get off your chest?
Well, of course. Apple Jade, she's back. She was obviously there on what day are we there? Wednesday. She takes on Honeysuckle in the 240. Honeysuckle, she's just out of novice company, only a 5-year-old, getting weight off the older horses, except Apple Jade. I think it's fascinating, this race, but I think she could be the real deal.
What does that mean?
What does it mean that she could be the real deal?
Yeah.
Over fences, I don't know, she could be a Gold Cup horse in time. She's so much ability. And
not this year.
No, so she's only 5. It's an interesting kind of philosophical argument. Willie Mullins had Blackbow back hurdling. I think Blackbow is 7 years of age and he's jumping it. He was beaten in a maiden hurdle. And my thinking is, like, this horse is a chaser. Why are we waiting around? Because they can get injured. And with Honeysuckle, I'd probably have just gone chasing this season. But Henry de Bromhead's horses are in unbelievable nick. And to me, she looks all over a chaser.
Is that because they haven't fully filled out yet, and
yeah, but she's
not
5.
experienced.
Yeah, she is inexperienced. She's 5 going on 6, so she get allowances as a 5-year-old, obviously in beginners chases and in chase company. And I just think hurdling this is her second season hurdling, so I'm really excited to see what she'll be like as a chaser. But Henry will be probably like, well, she'll go chasing as a 6-year-old. There's nothing wrong with that. But she's so exciting. And Rachel Blackmore in the plate. It'll be a really popular win if she wins. She's a mare ridden by our outstanding female jockey and trained by a proper trainer in County Waterford. And if Apple Jade comes back for Jack Kennedy, all well and good. But I don't think she'll beat Honeysuckle.
All right, good stuff, Johnny. Thanks very much.
Not at all.
Best of luck this week.
Badly needed.
It's going to come to an end at some
Stubbornly
point.
stagnant.
Friday Night Racing and Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. And as I said, the hashtag is every racing moment. That's your lot for Friday Night Racing this week. If you streamed us live, then you were with us at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, which is when we stream Friday Night Racing across all of our platforms. Offtheball.com, youtube.com/offtheball, or indeed you can get us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Or perhaps you're listening to us on the radio this evening on News Talk, and if so, you're very welcome. We'll be right back after this.
Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.